Welcome to Freed on Business. He grew up in South Florida, has been in business here since the early 90s, and has closed over $3 billion in deals. He's seen it all. He always has an opinion, and he's always ready to share it. Informed, entertaining, and connected, he has his finger on the pulse of South Florida's business community. He's Jim Freed, and this is Freed on Business.
All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Freed on Business. This is episode 858. I'm very excited to have an old friend of mine. My good friend Rod Castan is on with us today. Rod is Director of Development for, I guess, the Collier Family Office. I don't really know what else to call it. He's also the director here in South Florida for Metro Commercial, one of the top retail leasing specialists here in town. Rod and I are going to talk about retail real estate, the changes that Rod has seen over the past couple of decades, 3 decades probably. He's also a member of the UF Center for Real Estate Studies Bergstrom Center board with me. So I want to thank Rod for being here today. I want to remind everybody that our friend is Rod Castan. Our guest is Rod Castan. We're going to be broadcasting, as you know, we're broadcasting live on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. So you can always catch us there, and you can always catch us on shows after we've published the broadcast on all the streaming services across everything. I want to remind to look for us at Freed on Business and at Jim Freed. And I want to remind everybody that for 15 plus years now, our friends at Warren Henry have been sponsoring us. I want to thank Larry, Eric, and Ismet, all my friends at Warren Henry Automotive, for helping us bring you this great content. And now on with the show, Miami Podcast Studios. Where is Mr. Castan? There he is. Rod, is that from your palatial, beautiful, custom-made office in Coconut Grove?
That it is, Jim, and I'm super happy to be with you today. And it's good to be with an old friend. At least we're both old, right?
And we're friends. You know, don't make people think we're not friends, Rod. I mean, we've been talking back and forth, just so everybody knows. Rod's one of my, I'll call them members of my kitchen cabinet. When I'm looking to do something, I always run it past Rod. Rod and I help mentor a lot of the kids at the students. I can't call them kids anymore. They're the students at the University of Florida. And when I have a question about retail, Rod is my go-to person. So Rod, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Happy. I love talking about retail. I love talking about real estate in South Florida, and really glad to be here with everybody.
Well, tell us a little bit about, when I had a difficult time describing it accurately, probably. Tell us a little bit about your role with the Collier family, and that's the Collier family from Collier County, right? As in Collier County?
Exactly. And so you talk about history in Florida and old Florida. I work for one of the fourth generation families that helped develop the state of Florida, the Collier family out of Naples. And 4 generations of developing all diverse types of real estate throughout the state of Florida, and still has about 83,000 acres of land that we're planning and that we're looking towards the future on in Collier County. So besides that, with helping them with their retail strategies for development, I'm a principal with Metro Commercial Real Estate, which is a 35-year-old company originally out of Philadelphia that helps retailers in their executing their growth strategy plans in site selection and in leasing and sales, as well as helps other landlords in projects on a third-party basis. So we've got a great team here in Coconut Grove of brokers who work on both sides of tenant and landlord representation. And I get to work on both sides as well and work on some great development projects throughout the states.
I know that you've been involved in everything from traditional grocery anchored horizontal shopping centers to the vertical shopping centers like the one at the intersection of 27th and Dixie Highway at the gateway to Coconut Grove. So I guess it's a really simple question to ask you, maybe not such an easy answer. What's different today than 20 years ago? Because, everybody projected that retail development would be dead because of the internet. And I think that after going through a pause and after some inefficient or some legacy retailers that were either inefficient or unable to adapt rapidly enough, that retail is booming.
It absolutely is. And, part of it is where we sit and where we work. where we've had a demographic explosion and growth in residential throughout the state of Florida. And that is driving a lot of the activity that we have here. But retailing's changed quite a bit. It's a kind of a have-not situation. You've had the top of the food chain and retailers have become, very creative and very adaptive. They've changed their footprints. Case in point, we represent BJ's Wholesale Club in their growth strategies. They recently, just Thursday, opened up a 60,000 foot store in Delray Beach, and to do more grocery sales. Groceries driving a lot of the business for retailers here in South Florida and throughout the state. You've seen Target also get involved in that business, Walmart involved in that business, Aldi growing with that business, Trader Joe's. So there's just been a flurry of activity in grocery, especially since the pandemic when we've had that spurt of residential growth. But the retailers who really get it are omni-channel. They have platforms that they've adapted to the internet. So they've not only adapted how they do business with their store sizes, they've adapted how they do business with the customer. And it's, the survivors are doing very, very well right now.
What does omni-channel mean for people who aren't aficionados?
So as you know, with online sales, a lot of the customers prefer to have a bricks and mortar platform where they can, do their exchanges, check out the product, but yet order it online and get it delivered at home. So BJ's is a strong platform with that, and a lot of the retailers are able to execute really well on those strategies. And you notice how they've adapted their stores, Target and Walmart with their pickup zones, and people call or go online and order and pick up on a convenient location and have the help from the stores deliver right to your car. So this just shows some of the adaptability that's happened, and by using omni-channel, a lot of these retailers have had just a tremendous amount of success.
I remember working with some of the very first Walmart developers. Our old friend David Lipp introduced me to Frank Gatlin. I did a bunch of deals with Frank. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to Frank's office and saying, my wife is never, she likes to go, she likes to touch, she likes to pick up. And Frank said his wife was ordering all of these things online, the bulk things. Went back and I said, honey, why don't you go and start ordering stuff online, even if it's just your Bounty and your detergent, the things that you have to pick up that's so heavy. And now things come, it's ice cream, it's hot food, it's everything that my wife is getting and delivered. And yes, I will admit I have a term for her. I call her an urban hunter-gatherer. She still likes to go out and touch and feel things, but she watches like a hawk. She orders online, and not just from the food and I don't know what you call the food and the hard goods section of the grocery store. She orders everything, mm-hmm. everything online, shoes, candles. I'd order air conditioner filters.
And you think about the evolution of what's happening in our market, where people are not using their car quite as much. They are a lot of the new people moving into Brickell, into Edgewater, into the beach and all are much more dependent on this type of delivery for both their prepared foods, their groceries, their apparel, their home furnishings. But they like to be able to have a place where they can go check things out, where they could go talk to somebody. And that's where omni-channels come into play so strongly, and where you're seeing even online companies like Wayfair now doing bricks and mortar. So it's definitely a trend that is continuing. And many people talked about the death of retail because of online sales. It's actually quite the opposite. It's just made the more creative, better retailers stronger.
So I remember when I first got out of college and I started doing feasibility studies for all kinds of different product types, including Disney. When we worked at Pleasure Island, I'm so old that Pleasure Island's gone; it's been replaced by a neighborhood grocery store and shopping center. Um, but you are in the new shopping center development business, and I remember when there were 5, 10, 15, 20 firms that did this. They'd link up, they'd get one Publix, they would go on that, they'd go on to develop a whole bunch of Publix deals. When I go to the shopping center conference now, it seems more like a leasing conference. Don't see a lot of capital markets people there anymore. Don't see a lot of people doing investment sales. There's been a lot of consolidation. So what is the real depth of demand for these new shopping centers? And when I say new, I think that they're configured a little bit smaller with a little bit different tenant space and in different locations. Could you kind of elaborate on that, Rod?
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of changes in retail development, and part of it's prompted by the demand for multifamily and vertical development, driving up the land prices. So when you're doing just a simple horizontal retail center, the numbers don't pencil out to pay as much for the land as it does to do these high-rise developments. And with live local and other pressures on land sales, you haven't seen amount of typical retail strip center development, especially here in Southeast Florida. What you are seeing is these mixed use developments, and a lot of the retail space that's coming online is incorporated with multifamily. And whereas as development professionals and retail development professionals, we're having to work with the residential developers and plan this out in a very methodical and very thoughtful way. So if you look at that Coconut Grove project you mentioned, right at the Grove Metro Rail station, you'll see how the parking is planned out to be convenient, access to the retailers, where the signage elements are different. And that's been one thing that we've all adapted to, and getting ahead of the curve as far as how we plan these mixed use projects. Really, the only way that retail projects make sense on a horizontal basis is if you've got the rents to justify it. And rents are justified by sales. And sales are really hot in, for instance, the fast casual restaurants such as Chipotle and Cava and Panda. And those kind of businesses are able to generate tremendous sales. So you have a lot of these, what we call jewel boxes, that are popping up, with three or four retailer restaurants, the dental offices. These tenants can afford to pay the rent to justify retail development. But on a general basis, it's been very tough, which is why you've seen limited amount of retail development happen, except as part of multifamily.
So, I live in Edgewater. High five to Crescent Heights for developing their beautiful Forma multifamily with the ground floor Whole Foods on it, with the side street devoted to pickup and delivery. I'm working on another deal in the greater Atlanta area, across the street from one of their upscale malls, a beautiful vacant corner. And we're looking at multifamily, hospitality, and then the developer that had originally had the site had a plan for a fast chicken restaurant with a bunch of drive-throughs, not really something complementary to living next door to it. So we suggested that they look for another tenant, and they've now found a really nice upscale furniture store, which I think will go tremendous in the neighborhood, because that's a neighborhood that continues to see a lot of growth. I believe that that's sort of what you're talking about, because these tenants need to be able to draw from the people around them. And I must admit, I will usually I don't mark something with what day it is. I'm not going to give the exact date today, but I will admit that I saw my first driverless Waymo on my way walking over here. Notice I walked over to the studio from where I live, past a Waymo, past a bunch of restaurants where I could go have meetings with or anything else. And on the way back, I walked back to my apartment with Miami Podcast Studios, and we discovered new places that have just opened up in our neighborhood. So it's actually a very exciting life cycle we're watching here.
It really is. It's we're seeing just a complete change in how people live and how they do their business, and how they just kind of become more urban. And it's pretty special. It's pretty special what we got going on here. A lot of my son's friends and son don't have cars anymore, so they're figuring out ways to adapt and live that way. And
they don't want to drive, and
they don't want to drive anywhere.
And I want to give credit where credit is due. High five to Jeff Berkowitz, who had to convince people that his concept of the vertical shopping center would work. He built his first one over there by the Dadeland Mall, right at the transit station, and today it's a blueprint for things that can be done. It's very similar. It's a few stations south of where you built yours in Coconut Grove.
It's true, but this also further underscores the value of existing retail centers that have traditional parking. That there's an inherent value there that is going up quite a bit. And what you've seen is like retailers like Publix acquire a lot of their real estate because they realize how difficult it is to execute the development of these traditional retail neighborhood shopping centers. So they're buying up every center that they can where they have a right to buy it, or where the price is right, or where there's an opportunity where they have existing stores that are strong. And you're seeing a very tight market in investment sales for retail real estate, partly because of that, and partly because the delta between what it costs to buy an existing property and redevelopment versus a brand new retail center.
Yeah, I think a lot of those centers that got developed in Western Broward County with 150, 200,000 square feet of small space, I always called those pro forma centers. They were always developed to make the pro forma work. And I think that a lot of the end cap space there really would work well today as either a hospitality deal or as a townhouse deal. So I think that you're going to see more and more of that coming along. Rob, what do you think? The big topic in today's world is interest rates. Interest rates are relatively low compared to when I graduated college, back about when they were inventing the wheel and fire, and rates were about 20%. Rates today are, depending on a bunch of different factors, 4.5%, 5%, 5.5%, 6%. It's not, the low COVID-driven rates of 2-3% anymore. What are the impact rates and the changes of interest rates have you seen in retail?
Well, it's just opened up even more liquidity into the market. There's not only debt funds and investment funds, private equity funds, but the banks now are lending at very competitive rates, and they're open for business to buy retail real estate or to lend in retail real estate. So, I think if you have the right project and you have the right business plan for it, there's no shortage of capital. And, the drop in interest rates has helped us, relook at a few of the pro formas that we've had for ground up development too. There's been a reduction in the amount of retail space in the market as many malls were converted to multifamily or other uses and adaptive reuses. So the combination of some lower interest rates, some leveling off and inflation on construction costs is helping us relook at some of these projects for new development.
Rod, we're going to do a quick break for my favorite auto retailer, Warren Henry, and then I'm going to ask if we can come back and get to the bottom line. Don't want to tease it too much, but let's just think about what the next big thing is in retail real estate. And while we're doing that, I'm going to go to Miami Podcast Studios. Would you please do your magic there, Mr. Miami Podcast? All right, I want to thank our friends at Warren Henry Automotive. They've been sponsors of Freedom Business for 15, 16 years now. I want to thank my good friend Larry Zinn, Warren Zinn, Eric Zinn. They're all my good friends. Ismet Yagzi. Whenever I have a question about my car, I call Ismet. If I have a problem, I call Gerald in service. I want to thank them all because the Warren Henry folks, they make it feel like family. They've adjusted their marketing. They've got their brand new store up at 151st and Biscayne. It's spectacular. It's got the little pop-out jewel boxes of their beautiful cars. They've got Land Rover, Range Rover, Jaguar, and Lincoln. I got my Lincoln up there. I got my mom's Lincoln up there. Lots of my friends get their cars there. Recently had a friend buy one of their Land Rovers and Range Rovers from them. They've got a great store in Gainesville where they sell all those beautiful Audi cars. Down in the Keys, they've got a very, very nice store in Key West that sells all the different nameplates. And, of course, they've got their award-winning Land Rover, Range Rover stores in South Dade and West Broward. And whenever you're looking to buy or lease a car, you always want to get the best deal you can, the best advantage you can. You get that by going to Warren Henry. They'll guarantee you're getting the best price on your trade-in, the best price on your car. I can attest to that fact. I always feel terrific about the value that they've given me. And then afterwards, you become a member of the Warren Henry family. You get all kinds of great advantages, including a person like Gerald in the service line that'll help you schedule your service, as well as your loaner car if you need one. I always get my loaner car, go see my mom. I'm such a good son. Go see my mom, then bring it back in the afternoon when all the work is done. I want to remind everybody that you should join my friends, my colleagues, my clients, my beautiful wife, Vivian, my mom, all my friends, all my clients. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry.
Welcome back to Freedom Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freedom Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
I want to welcome everybody back. We've got Rod Castan. He's a developer, leasing agent, family office advisor, my personal concierge on many, many different things. An old friend of mine. We've been together in the trenches for 35, 40 years at this point. And of course, he's a member of the Berkshire Board, Center for Real Estate Studies board with me. We're going to have the big bottom line, the last takeaway here in a second, but I want to remind everybody, reach out to me. I help family offices implement their business plans. I help high net worth investors, institutions. I recently went and called on one of the big local investors who one of the institutions asked me to reach out to. They said, we know them. I said, yes, you know them, but you have such a great relationship that they sent me over to see if I could get something done since you haven't gotten anything accomplished with them. And I've closed a whole bunch of deals with them. So reach out to me. I can help make it happen. You got my contact info down there. You can call me, you can email me. And remember, whenever you call me, it's always all about you. And where's Mr. Castan? My podcast. There he is.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, Rod. First of all, thank you for always being there for me. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And, I know all the students at UF and all of our members of the board really appreciate your involvement and your support. So thank you so much for being a wonderful member of the community.
Thank you. We got to pay it forward, and we need that new blood, new ideas to keep business going and keep our community stronger. So,
oh God, I love you, man. So tell me, what do you see coming down the pike? Because we talked about the past, we talked about the anxiety that the most recent past caused people. We talked about what's going on today. What do you see moving forward? Smaller stores, closer together. I don't know. I made that part up. Using the stores as pickup places, the way the old Laurier's and Son used to be. You go walk around and shop, and then the stuff will come out the back. What's the next format that we can look forward to?
There's a couple of hot topics in retail real estate and retail real estate development. One, I like to call it the power of place. And it means creating an experience that drives people to want to hang out and shop and be there. They want to have those Instagram moments. They want to have those places where they want to be seen. We have a very fit and active and young populace here in South Florida. They want to be connected in that way, and they want to feel like it's a cool place to be. So you're seeing developers, big national developers, really creating some special places within their projects where there are games, there's artwork, there's incredible, just open space for them to use. That ties into being a project where you have, some exciting restaurants, where you have exciting entertainment, retail venues. It could be in golf, it could be in pickle and paddle, it could be in a lot of different active type of environments. So I like that theme of the power of place, because it ties into not only retail, it ties into residential, the amenities that you have in residential and in office buildings now, all coming together and creating a place where people want to gather. And so that is a huge trend in our business, and what the retailers are asking for and looking for when they do their locations, and they plan out their strategies. That's just one thing. The other thing that I think is really cool to look at is what is happening about demographics. And you refer to me as your old friend. We are old friends. There is an aging of America, and that is creating a need for wellness and for places where people feel like they have those amenities for their skin, for their health, for their eyes, for their just overall wellness, and how they eat, and the quality of foods that they eat, be it in organic grocers such as Sprouts, or be it in, better quality fast casuals such as Sweet Greens, the acai bowls, the different types of smoothies and vitamins and those kind of items. Well, there's whole wellness type of real estate development programs happening. You can see Terra doing it with their well concept in the Grove. So, I think those are two really great trends that we're looking at as we're planning projects, is creating both that experience and that great place for people to live, work, and play, and also creating that place where they can get those amenities as they change in life and they change how they interact with each other.
I think that I have a little term. My podcast studios remind me, we need to do a show about all my terms that I use. I think that would be tremendous. So here's one for you, Rod. I call the neighborhoods, I call them vertically integrated neighborhoods, where you have everything. You don't need a car. Maybe you need the Waymo or whatever, the Uber or whatever, but you don't really need a car. I'm watching it happen in my neighborhood in Edgewater, which I started out, and it was absolutely, you could shoot there was nobody on the streets ever at night. Streets would roll up. Tonight, my wife, when she's coming back from that fancy Whole Foods she goes to, she drives. It's like a obstacle course with the people with the strollers, and the people that are jogging, and the people that are biking, and the people that are scootering, and whatever it is. And they all have this vertically integrated thing. And when I go back to I'm going to look through my mind in a second here. When I go back home, I'm going to walk past the wellness place that offers everything from, what do you call it? The face stuff, Botox, all that stuff. Pilates. And they're right next to Pilates, they're right next to the Pilates space, where they have like the whole custom thing where I see all the people lined up at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, jogging up and down. I walk past the fancy furniture store. Grant and I love going to the Japanese Miami podcast studios. Now I added them. It's Grant. Yeah, sorry, Grant. And they have a Japanese place that I go to. I like to look at all the stuff.
And you can even integrate your vehicles, your Warren Henry dealership into some of these projects too. So. Oh
yeah, I mean,
I was looking at that sweet ride, that Range Rover. You got to give me a number there to call for Warren Henry on that.
We'll talk. Stay in the green room after the show, and we'll definitely talk. And as I said, they'll guarantee you get the best price and the best price on your trade-in, and you get to be part of the Warren Henry family. They're lovely people. I've been their brand ambassador for 15 years, and I like to think that it's because I project the way that they like to treat people, which is good. So Rod, I want to thank you. I'm going to remind everybody, thanks again to Rod Castan. Rod, if they want to find out about Metro Commercial or your
metrocommercial.com.
Okay,
Look
that
me up.
was pretty easy. And I want to remind everybody to if you missed something on today's show, we're always available on Spotify, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the places, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Wentz, the guy on ESPN always says Wentz or Wentz. I know he stopped saying that though, so I don't think it's a real word. Wherever you get your podcast stuff, you can always find us. We're a fun thing to listen to while you're driving, also informative. You can always check out the replays on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Look for us at Freed on Business, at Jim Freed. Head on over to all the podcast places. And I want to thank our friends at Warren Henry for being a sponsor. Also want to thank the Bergstrom Center for Real Estate Studies, a sponsor since the beginning. I'll see Rod up at the Bergstrom Center for Real Estate Studies, Trends and Strategies Conference. I think you can still register. Go on the UF website or email me. I'll help you get there. And I want to remind everybody, whenever you call me, it's always all about you. And Rod is a great example. I've worked with Rod. We've worked together through building our careers. And Rod is a tremendous example. And that is of this. When a person wants to do something, they find a way. God, I just blanked because I got all excited about Ron. Person wants to do something, finds a way. The other finds an excuse. Now go out there and make it happen. God bless you. God bless the United States. God bless my memory. Miami Podcast Studios. The rest of the show is yours.